Welcome to the NFL Draft Tailgate Show, Episode 1, our season premiere. Woohoo! Back with the family, baby! You know I'm excited here. RIC in the place to be, reporting from New Jersey. Along with my co-host today, we have the director of NFL Draft Bible Scouting. He is at Rise and Draft, also known as Ryan Roberts. Brother, it's been too long. How are you today?
Good, man. Saturdays in the Roberts household are sacred, so I'm happy to be with you guys this morning, to say the least.
And, of course, we've got David Turner here of Maverick Sports, a veteran in the NFL industry, an executive at multiple levels, NFL, CFL, Arena League, three-time back-to-back champ. And, of course, he joins us here as he does on Friday Night Scout School, these guys, and the NFL Draft Bible.com. David Turner, welcome in from Arizona. How are you this morning?
Doing well, guys. As always, Ryan, long time no see. Last night we're teaching Friday Night Scout School. We got Mav Sports Take together. Now we're just going to add another one, baby. Jesus, we're going to have a prenup here pretty soon, me and you.
It's a can't stop, won't stop situation. And we got our guy, John Murphy, down there in New Orleans, who is scheduled to join us. Hopefully we'll have him. I know he's dealing with the hurricane status, rain and wind all weekend, so he's having connectivity issues. But we hope he can join us here. And, of course, Daniel Cassidy already in the chat room getting ready for game day. Hey, it's a brand new show. It's a brand new day. I am doing the show with a heavy heart today after my New York Yankees fell victim. But, let me just tell you what we're going to do here on the NFL Draft Tailgate Show. It's a college football pregame show with the NFL Draft slant. So if you're into college football, if you're into the NFL Draft, we're going to preview the games. We're going to tell you the prospects that we're watching. Of course, the NFLPA Collegiate Ball, which I'm affiliated with, is always watching prospects. So make sure you check those folks out. And we're powered by the NFLDraftBible.com, bringing you the names you need to know first since 2002. You know why? It's what we do. You want to come at us sideways on Twitters? We'll smack you down too. But go check it out. The Virtual Draft Guide is now available online. We have a great promotion. You might see the Scout Speak book behind me. Our good friend Neil Stratton at Inside the League has been gracious enough to bless us with the supply. So while supplies last, you sign up for the all-access membership. You get the official NFL Draft Bible publication, the PDF, the Scout Speak book, and oh, by the way, unlock the magic, over 300 scouting reports now available on the virtual edition draft guide. Of course, our super producer, Samantha, behind the scenes. Let's get it on, fellas. Hey, we're the #1 NFL draft coverage syndicate. Let's start off with the #1 team in the land, Ryan. It's Clemson tonight in prime time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Speaking of hurricanes, Miami coming into the Carolinas. How do you see this one playing out, sir?
Well, I know David's going to see it a little bit different than I do. We talked about this one the other day. I'll say my hats off to Miami. Coach Diaz, with all those transfers he's got over there, De'Ara King from Houston, Jared Williams, Bubba Bolton coming over there from USC, the safety, Jalen Phillips from UCLA, defensive end Quincy Roche out of the University of Temple. He has gotten a lot of quick fixes, and he's put it together, and it looks great. And it's better for college football when Miami is relevant and when Miami is good, absolutely. But he's going into Clemson tonight. He is going into a stage that they have not been a part of yet this season. Miami seemed to have a good win over Louisville. Turns out Louisville just isn't good at all. They beat Florida State. Florida State is also a dumpster fire right now. So I think they're going to go into Clemson. I think that they're going to have a nice start to the game, maybe keep it close for most of the first quarter, and then Clemson's going to get a little bit of the momentum, and then it's going to start really rolling downhill. They're going to make Miami a little more one-dimensional than they want to be. Derek King is going to have to deal with some of those really talented young defensive linemen from Clemson. I think it's going to end up being a 3-score victory by the University of Clemson. I told David 3 touchdowns. I'm going to take it back, David, just to say 3 scores here. Clemson defeats the Miami Hurricanes tonight.
Yeah.
Is that an Irish coffee you're sipping over there? Is that an Irish
It's a Maverick Sports, baby. I don't know what's in your thermos this morning, but mine tastes awfully good.
I think Ryan's got a nice, strong Irish coffee going over there.
Well, I kind of see it the same way. I think Clemson's just too much, too locked, too loaded, too stacked at the line of scrimmage there. And You mentioned Jalen Phillips. Hey, I like what the U is doing. I like what Manny Diaz is doing. I just don't know if they're ready for this stage yet. But I hope De'Ara King can pull it through. I think it's going to be bad weather here. So when you have a dual threat quarterback like a De'Ara King, he can create some problems. So I think Miami sticks around for about a half, but then Clemson pulls away. However, there's two quarterbacks here on the NFL radar, David Turner, and two distinct different styles. I don't think anybody is going to knock Trevor Lawrence off from the top of the mountain, but we've had several games now to assess De'Ara King as a quarterback. Last time we got official measurements, he came in at 5'8" and 5'10" inches. So is he a quarterback? Is it still to be determined? Do you like what you see? Are you open-minded to it? Where do you have De'Ara King's evaluation as we speak?
As we speak, I have him as an athlete. I have him as a guy who, again, can be a gadget type quarterback. Maybe a Swiss Army knife where he could be a little bit of a slot receiver, a little bit of a trick play quarterback. Right now at the next level, I haven't seen enough. I want to finish the year before I finish my evaluation on him, but I haven't seen enough to say you are a quarterback in the Lamar Jackson style where we can base an offense and build it around you yet. That's something I haven't seen yet. So let me get the whole season in right now. If I had him on my draft board, be an athlete, and then with the potential still to move him back over to quarterback, but we have to see more out of his work. Where I like the U is the defense. Like, Ryan knows I like to use defense. I think they're getting after quarterbacks. They're getting pressure, and I'm all about pressure, baby. And I think what you haven't seen and what people aren't giving credit to Miami is the pressure they're putting on quarterbacks. And this is where what Clemson hasn't seen yet. They haven't seen a frothed up Miami Hurricanes. Let's get at it. I tweeted at you guys last night. Those boys are ready down there. They're ready for this game. The U is coming to town. The Hurricanes are swirling. You're going to feel it up there. I love Travis Etienne. I love Trevor Lawrence. I love it, but this is going to be a much better game than you guys are giving the Hurricanes. And bam!
It's hurricane season. Oh boy, I'll tell you, if Miami pulls,
it's Hurricane Alley, and they're coming to South Carolina.
Yes, they are, and you know what? I would imagine that would put them right into the college football mix if they can pull off the upset at Clemson tonight, 7:30 p.m. on ABC. All eyes on me. All right, let's keep it moving and grooving. Number 4, Tennessee. David is traveling into Georgia. These two teams, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS today. Tennessee now 8 consecutive wins dating back to last season. But Bennett Stenson is steering the ship there in Georgia. How do you see this one?
Georgia came out of the gate stolen the first game. I was like, ooh, this ain't our dogs. These aren't the dogs we're used to. But then they've come back and they've started to bark, and now their bites coming into it. This is a great game. I think this is going to be a really fun one to watch later on today. Georgia started working the kinks out. That defense is starting to roll. That second and third game for Georgia has been really impressive. So I think what you're going to see here is a very hard-fought battle. I think you're going to see Georgia ultimately on top, but Tennessee is going to gain some respect for that team they have there. They're going to play them tough, and it's not going to be any kind of double-digit victory. It'll be single-digit game. May even come down. I'll be honest with you, I like it to the last possession. This could be a last possession game because Tennessee they got a lot of heart and a lot of fight going on right now, and I like what their offense is showing us. So for me as a scheme, I think this is going to be great. But Georgia, with what I've seen the last 2 weeks, I think they're going to come out on top.
I would say Jeremy Pruitt there is one of the more underrated coaches. I hear nothing but good things with the players coming out of that program over the last couple of years. And Garrett Garantino, the Jersey boy quarterback, along with Ty Chandler. I'm keeping an eye on him because he's had some issues holding on to the football there. So I want to see him, step his game up, right? And then, you talk about that Georgia defense. Ryan, I know you're a big fan of Eric Stokes and LeCount and that whole Bulldog secondary. I think it's going to be good for at least 1, maybe 2 turnovers today.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that defense, I've been very on the bandwagon of that secondary, like you said, LeCount and Stokes, and then they have the outside linebacker Azeez Ojulari, who are very talented players. I do agree, though, with David on this one. I think that this game is going to be a lot closer than some people think. I think the spread on this was like 12 and a half. And for me, that just seems like so much because I know that it looked like Georgia was really righting the ship offensively last week with, like you said, Stetson Bennett coming in and giving them some pretty solid quarterback play. But I think Tennessee it's good stuff, man. Again, to see a Tennessee program, which is historically a very good one, be relevant again. Coach Pruitt, Garrett Guarantano, they have Eric Gray, another young running back who's a very talented football player as well. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think that there might be maybe like a last-second field goal that makes the game look a little more lopsided than it potentially was. Maybe they win by 10, 11 points. But I think Tennessee's going to hold it really tough. But in the end of the day, I think Georgia just has a little too much on defense where Tennessee's not going to be able to score with them down the stretch.
I tend to agree. I think Tennessee has a shot to win this game outright. I wouldn't count them out of it. And, so far so good with the quarterback there, Bennett. But, JT Daniels, 5-star recruit, transfer from USC. Any chance we get a JT Daniels sighting today?
I mean, it depends what we got with Stetson Bennett, right? If he continues what he was doing last week, then I don't see any need for it. I mean, obviously, JT Daniels has the more fanfare, he has the more talent, but Georgia, I mean, consistently over the last few years anyway, has been a team that they kind of really go to a reliable starting quarterback, right? If anything, Jake Fromm was that, moving back to the days of like Aaron Murray and those types of guys. It's the dependable quarterbacks that they seem to gravitate towards. So I don't think we see JT today. I think Stetson does enough, continues to keep the momentum in his favor, and then we'll see where we are in a couple weeks from now.
Like JT, I mean, being a West Coast guy, I've seen a lot of them. And I'll be honest with you, he's a soft guy. I don't see it. I don't see it. He's got all this fanfare, all this love, all this hype, but he does not have the heart, the drive, the the tenacity it takes to be a winner at any level. This kid is so soft, it's just ridiculous. I get tired of the USC quarterbacks getting pumped up like they're freaking, Macy Day balloons. This guy needs more heart, more soul, and more grit to him to make it. So let's get off that bandwagon. Let's keep this going where it's at because this train ain't broken. We don't need to put the spare tire on it.
David, don't you insult Keaton Slovis like that ever again in your life. You hear me? Don't you do that.
David, not a big fan of the Cali quarterbacks. You heard him shred Jared Goff to Shiverines a couple of weeks ago. Now he's taking it, dropping the hammer on JT, baby. Woo!
I'm a Cali guy, but I just can't do it.
Wake up! It's NFL Draft Tailgate Show here with Rick Serritella, Ryan Roberts, David Turner. Big shout out to all our chat room people. Let's get live. Let's get interactive. Buckle up, baby. Double chin strap kind of day. Okay.
Let's go.
Oh, Joey Everett popping into the chat room. Always good to see him. Robin Backsab. We appreciate all the love there. Of course, Daniel Cassidy, always along for the rodeo. And we keep it moving. Of course, that Tennessee-Georgia game, 3:30 CBS, a game of two ranked opponents. Also at 3:30 on a CBS syndicate will be not too many games going on out west yet in your neck of the woods yet. Pac-10 is coming, David. I know you're excited for that, but this number 15th ranked team, BYU, hosting UTSA. Let's be honest, BYU is just lighting folks up. I mean, they are just pummeling guys, and they've got a very good-looking quarterback, probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest risers on our big board here. Again, 3:30 p.m. CBS. David Turner, what do you got for us?
Well, the BYU Zach Wilson, I remember when he was a freshman, he came in and he unseated the quarterback at the time, and I was working for the Panthers. He's got moxie, and talk about it. He's got some Jim McMahon to him, He's a guy that is a leader in the locker room. The guys up there just fight like heck for him. So, I mean, they really are a big believer. And I think they've worked out their kinks. It was a Navy game that they were kind of, struggling there a little bit, but then now they've worked out their kinks. I see a senior-led defense here with a young offense and a strong leader. So, BYU's defense to me isn't getting any credit because Zach's just kind of taken over. They're holding some good teams to some lower scores, and this is a defense that needs to be looked at and evaluated because I think there's a couple good players on there, especially up front with Abakti. I always mess up his name. He's a third-generation player. I think all three of the Abakti brothers have played there. He's a D tackle. He's a really good up-front player. So, for me, I like BYU. I don't know if I like it by, what is it now, 35 points. I think that's not giving enough credit to UTSA. UTSA's got a young program that, is sputtering, but I don't know if they're going to lose this game by 35 points.
It's like every week I'm like, BYU is not going to do it again, are they? They're laying a lot of lumber. Oh, by the time at halftime, Ryan, it seems like this team is covering.
Yeah, and Zach Wilson's one of the guys that I really want to get to over the last couple of games specifically because I've only seen the 2019 stuff of him so far, and he's a little bit of a mixed bag, but everything I've seen and heard of him, he's been a guy that's really ascended to what people expected him to be after his really solid freshman year of glimpses there. So I want to check him out. That offensive line in BYU right now, man, because they got a couple nice running backs, but they got dudes up front like Brady Christensen, Tristan Hogue, who is actually Tristan Hodge. I'm sorry. It looks like Hogue, but it's Merrill Hodge's nephew, I think.
Is that right?
And,
yeah.
So a little plug there. And they have a really talented offensive line. There's several guys that are going to play in the NFL on that BYU offensive line. So in theory, they're going to really wear down that UTSA defensive line that's a little bit undersized. Zach Wilson's going to get his game going as well. And then defensively, BYU's got some dudes. They got Kyrus Tonga up front, who's a big nose tackle at 340 pounds, very talented player as well. So I think I would agree with David that I think 35 is a little high. If I had to, I would probably take UTSA covering that 35, but BYU, I think, rolls it pretty good today.
I think BYU keeps it rolling, and that Tonga you mentioned, he's looking like a really good pro prospect. I think he's a solid mid-round pick right about now, and that BYU quarterback, it's going to be interesting to see how high he can ascend up the NFL draft boards. Hey, back at it again. Charlie, I'm better than you in the chat room. Hey, let's get live. Let's get interactive. Tell a friend. It's them again. Ryan Roberts, David. Oh, baby. You got questions? You got comments? I got concerns. Throw them in the chat room. Let's answer them, baby. Ooh, all right. Moving right along. Florida State, the Fugazi Seminoles, going into Notre Dame, who has been on a bye week for, it seems like, the whole month. Number 5 in the nation, still holding steady. This one's on NBC, Ryan, 7:30 p.m. These are your guys, brother.
Yeah, me and David. So either way, you were going to get a little biased potentially. But, so this has been a depressing few Saturdays for me, not being able to watch the Notre Dame football, man, with the COVID, everything happening, with the game getting canceled a couple weeks ago. They had their bye week this past week. I'm really curious to see what the Notre Dame depth chart looks like going into this one. How many guys are still a part of the protocol? What are they working with as far as depth for this game? I think that Notre Dame is going to win this one pretty comfortably. It's 21. I would say I'm not sure if they do cover the 21 because I think Florida State is going to keep it a little closer depending on what that depth, again, is looking like for Notre Dame. But I think Notre Dame, again, wins this one pretty comfortably. They're in Notre Dame Stadium. Florida State is, like I said before, not playing great football right now. So give me Notre Dame pretty big. I'm just not sure if it's going to quite cover the 21 here.
Yeah, Florida State going with a new quarterback here, so that could always be a little bit tricky when you don't have film to break it down. A new quarterback could get out of the gates, give Florida State a shot. But if they don't get on the board first, you could kiss the Seminoles goodbye. It seems like their season's already over, just like my New York Yankees. That is Florida State at Notre Dame. How do you kind of see this one playing out, David?
I think there's someone smoking something because Notre Dame's coming out and these Irish are coming out and they're going to box up them Seminoles. They're going to get them. They're going to hit them with the left, hit them with the right, and then they're going to go down. Seminoles down, down, down.
All right, we're back at it again here. This is the NFL Draft Tailgate Show brought to you by the NFLDraftBible.com. Of course, your home for the state of football. Real football talk in the mornings, weekdays, 9 a.m. We're going to be here every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And boy, oh boy, are we excited to bring you the names you need to know. Of course, if you want to learn more, you can go get that NFL Draft Bible virtual guide. Unlock the magic, over 300 scouting reports. We're adding to that tally daily. And, of course, home of Friday Night Scout School and Baldy's Breakdown. If you're interested in signing up for our seminars, of course, if you do go all access, we're giving away a free copy of the book Scout Speak, our good friend Neil Stratton over at Inside the League. If you want to be in the know, make sure you sign up for his industry newsletter at Inside the League, a great resource. And he sent out another phenomenal email yesterday with a lot of facts and figures and tidbits. And I love looking at that every Friday in my inbox. And now, I love me some SEC football with 2 ranked opponents. What a great weekend of college football. Ryan, we talked about Tennessee at Georgia. Well, hey, number 4, Florida, traveling into number 21, College Station, the Texas A&M Jimbo Fisher boys. This one's here in just a little bit, noon Eastern time on ESPN. Break it down for us, Ryan.
I think Texas A&M has let me down a little bit this year. I wasn't expecting a terrible amount from them, but I feel like they've been very uneven so far. I'm taking Florida in this game pretty handily. I'm going to say it's like 41-21 going into the 4th. Maybe Texas A&M scores a touchdown late. Maybe it's 41-28, making it look a little more respectable. Florida dominates this game from start to finish. Still not sold on the Florida defense as a whole. They have some nice pieces overall, but I think maybe Texas A&M scores a couple late, like I said. So Florida wins handedly. I just think Texas A&M maybe squeezes 1 or 2 late to make it look like, hey, maybe this was a game at one point.
David Turner, I don't know about you, but the 2 Kyles for me, I have them as my top-rated quarterback, my top-rated tight end in terms of seniors, Trask and Pitts. Tell me you see it differently.
Oh, you heard it here, Ryan. You heard it here because he's on my butt about Trask all the time. This is an unfiltered opinion. I did not pay him for this, so don't come at me like I slipped him an Italian handshake or anything. This guy just came in himself, and he talked about my boy, Kyle Trask, who is the man right now in college football. He is lacing it up. He is lining up. He works the pocket better than any quarterback right now in college football. He knows how to climb in it, work it, baby. Open up those passing lanes, side to side, eyes downfield, ball coming out quick. And don't underestimate one of the best receivers in college football, Tony. Tony is this little gadget player who's like Percy Harvins. He's stronger than that kid. He's got speed. He's got quickness. He's got agility. This is a great young player. Pitts is a phenomenal player. And the center at Florida is the best center in college football right now. This guy is amazing. Watch him today. His hand strength, his ability to drive people out of there. He gives up no pressure, no ground, not 1 inch. He doesn't get pushed at all. You know, when you want to see center play, watch this young guy. He can come at it. And on the defensive side, you got defensive rushers on the Gators. You got Vontrell Miller, the 51 linebacker. He's amazing as a young Sam Mills style linebacker.
Whoa.
So they are filled up on the Gators. The Gators are going to clamp down on the A&M team. This isn't going to be close. This is going to be a runaway Gator train.
Woo! Anytime we can get the pride of Montclair State Sam Mills reference, you know I'm a fan. Darius, Tony, it's your anniversary. Yo, how many people got that throwback there? Hey, Ryan, I see you shaking your head. We're talking about Kyle Trask, and you're like, maybe riding the fence. What's going on?
Oh, no. David's just coming at me. Oh, they're going to roll him. David, what did I say? I just said they were going to roll him. What do you mean?
We're having fun here on the NFL Draft Tailgate Show each and every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It's our season premiere, and I love to see the chat room coming in. Johnny Mays, Chris Sarver, woo! Mays Sports in the building, baby. Loving it. Loving all your love and support. How about that? All right, next up, we got a slobber knocker up in Boston College. It's Pittsburgh at BC. Pat Narduzzi and his defense and Weaver coming at you. And traditionally, this would be a ground and pound, rock 'em, sock 'em type of affair. But Jeff Hafley there at Boston College, of course, with your guy Jerkovic there, the Notre Dame transfer, Ryan. I know we'll get to him in a second, but they're winging it and flinging it. They got a wide receiver there by the name of Kobe White that we're keeping an eye on. And then, of course, that Boston College offensive line. I mean, they've got a handful of talented guys. Traditionally, I mean, you go back historically, Boston College, just a well-coached tradition. You kind of know what you're getting out of the Boston College offensive lineman there. This one is going to be at 4 p.m. on the ACC network. David Turner, what do you see?
Well, like you said, I like the Hogmalas. I like the guys up front. That's where the game is won and lost, in the trenches. So when you look at BC and you look at what they got up front on that offensive line, I think, you might have 3-4 future NFLers, if not more, up there, and it's really impressive what they're going to do. And if you can have an offensive line like that, you're going to control most of the games that you're in. So Pittsburgh, though, I think, to me, Pittsburgh's a little bit underachieving this year. I expected a little bit more out of them. So Ryan might have a different opinion on that. I like BC. I like them by like 10 or 14, and I think it's going to be a nice ball control game for them, and it's going to be a steady Eddie. It might not be the best game to watch fanfare wise, but I do like what BC is going to bring to the table today.
Well, hey, Pittsburgh's been a little bit streaky, but I think anytime you got Kenny Pickett, he's going to give you a shot to win. Boston College, Ben Petrula, Zion Johnson, of course, our guy Hunter Long there, Ryan. This Boston College team, despite a first-year head coach, they're sneaky good, and I think, there's something kind of special brewing there up in Chestnut Hill, where there will be about a dozen NFL teams in attendance taking this one in.
Yeah, and their staff definitely wasn't lying to us about Hunter Long, man. He is tearing it up so far the year, the tight ends. Offensive line, like you said, Zion Johnson, Ben Petrula. They got Alec Lindstrom, Chris's little brother at center, who's a good football player. Tyler Vrabel at right tackle, obviously. Yep, Mike Vrabel's son. Very talented offensive line, which is going to be a great matchup against that Pitt defensive line with guys like Patrick Jones, Rashad Weaver at defensive end. Those guys are definitely talented football players. To Paris Ford back at safeties, an NFLer as well. So it's going to be a good matchup to see what Boston College is able to do offensively against a very, very talented Pitt defense. I'm taking Boston College in this game. I think that this is going to be the Djokovic coming out party. You talked about it a little bit, Rick. That kid, bad ending to his final game after getting a little bit of a comeback going, throws an interception on the 2-point conversion to seal the game last week. But I'm telling you, man, this kid's 6'4.5", 220 pounds, athletic kid. First year as a starting quarterback since transferring over Notre Dame. I predicted before the season, man, it's going to be like a Justin Fields, Jake Fromm type of situation in Notre Dame last year. Wow, you picked Ian Book over this Phil Djokovic kid. By the end of the year, people are going to be talking about that a little bit. So Djokovic coming out party. I think it's still a close one, but I think Boston College gives you enough offensively to take down Pitt today.
And Ryan, you've been calling that since you saw him after week one. I like what Boston College is doing. I'll tell you what, this is a game of two unranked teams. I don't know. I think this is going to be one of the more entertaining matchups of the day. I'm looking forward to it here in the Northeast. Again, 4 p.m. Eastern on the ACC network. And 12 o'clock, man, there's a lot of noon games on the docket. This one on Fox, of course, home of the Big 12, where Oklahoma Sooners are reeling now, suddenly playing the role of underdog, getting points at home against number 22 Texas and the Tom Hermans. Ryan, how do you see this one?
Oklahoma gets on track today and takes down the Texas Longhorns. I think that the young quarterback for Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler, has been a little bit of a mixed bag at the end of football games over the last 2 weeks. I think that he is going to turn that page today. He's going to start to get back on track here. Sam Ehlinger looked very poor last week in their loss against Kansas State. So I think that Oklahoma is really going to continue that momentum here. They're going to take it. And, Texas has not been impressive defensively. So I think they're going to struggle to deal with some of the playmakers on the Oklahoma offense. Spencer Rattler gets the win in this noon affair on Fox between the Oklahoma Sooners and Texas Longhorns.
You mentioned Rattler, but what about the other side of the ball? Sam Ehlinger, a senior prospect. I know his write-up wasn't exactly favorable in the NFL draft publication. Ryan, has your opinion swayed at all?
No, he's the right-handed Tim Tebow. Let's move on with it.
All right, well, there you have it, Longhorns fans. Keep an eye on Tom Herman and his sideline antics, as Texas visits Oklahoma at noon. You know what? I think the way this college football season is going, David, I'm going to say Oklahoma wins the game outright. Don't give me the points. Just give me Oklahoma. I think they take this one.
I'm with you. Give me OU, baby. Let's ride and die, because there's one word to describe that Texas defense, and that is soft. I mean, that's That is a soft defense. They are not coming to play. They are not coming to hit. They are not coming into the stadium. They are in the locker room, and they are just enjoying the buffet. Because
wheels.
Huh?
That's the Sooner wagon rolling in.
Yeah, exactly. Rolling, baby. They're going to be rolling all day. So, I think the Sooners are coming, and this is, again, if the Texas had any kind of defense, I would, and that wanted to show up and give an attitude and play with something, I would actually probably say this is going to be a really close game, and Texas pulls it out because Texas offense can score, and they're showing the ability to move the ball up and down the field really well. But the Texas defense is so soft. I think the Sooners come in and takes this one.
And in the story of be careful what you wish for, you wanted to push Matt Brown out the door. You couldn't wait to just shove him out, right? You just wanted to take his face and get out of here, Matt Brown. And guess what? You haven't come back since then, have you? Have you, Texas? What are you doing? Come on. Where'd you go? Charlie Strong? And then where'd you go from there? Get me up. Get me up, right? NFLDraftBible.com. Hey, are you a subscriber yet? Guess what? Get on board. All access. Get the Scout Sheet book. Get the NFL Draft Bible publication. We've got over 300 scouting reports available right now. Right now. That number is going to at least double by the time we get to April. So get on board. Unlock the magic. NFLDraftBible.com. Of course, your home for Friday Night Scout School. Baldy's breakdowns, and won't stop coverage of the NFL draft, bringing you the names you need to know. Since 2002, it's what we do. And we've got Missouri at LSU. You know how they do, Ryan, the defending national champions. This one's going to be at noon Eastern on the SEC network. LSU has already fallen to number 17 in the rankings. I think Miles Brennan has somewhat rebounded here because he was looking real ugly that first week. But this LSU team is just not as talented. They lost, probably a good 2 dozen players to the NFL draft and a handful of opt-outs. Missouri here, any shot of knocking off LSU, which is, I think this game has moved, yes? Is it in Missouri now?
I'm not 100% sure about that. I would assume that it has moved with the state of Louisiana right now. I'll say for this game, you're right. Miles Brennan's going in the right direction. I think LSU lost 20 of 22 starters or something like that off the national championship team, not counting some of the depth that they lost also. It's a tough situation to be in. Miles Brennan looked like he's turning it around a little bit. Missouri has some really nice defensive players, Bledsoe and Gillespie at safety. They have Nick Bolton at linebacker, who's one of my favorite players in the next year's draft. As you know, he's a very talented off-ball linebacker.
First
rounder, man. I'm telling you. He's good. Oh, man. We can spend a whole podcast just talking about Nick Bolton. We'll talk about this at some point. I'll say I think that Missouri keeps it close for a little bit, but eventually LSU just has too many athletes offensively for them to keep up with. I don't think Missouri has enough offensively outside of Larry Roundtree, the running back, who's a pretty solid little football player. The 14.5, give me LSU and that 14.5. I think eventually it turns into a little bit of a blowout. Missouri keeps it close for majority of the first half, and then the LSU athletes eventually take over.
Yeah, that little hook there with the 14.5. If John was here, of course, John Murphy, who's down there in Louisiana, our thoughts and prayers out to him and his family right now. He will tell you that wide receiver they got, Terrence Marshall, is it?
Terrence Marshall, yep.
Yeah, he is very high on this kid. In fact, he even dared to say that watch out because he might be just as good, if not better, than Jamar Chase. So how's that for a hot take?
The kid's like 6'3 plus running in the 4.4, so he's obviously talented. He is a full year now of being the guy, which is going to be valuable reps for him. His thing last year was he was actually leading college football in touchdown receptions until he got hurt in the middle stages of the season and was out for a majority of the time. Kind of lost that opportunity. He still ended with like 13 touchdown catches on like 40 receptions or something like that. So obviously talented. I'm not with John there to the extreme of Jamar Chase, but Terrace Marshall is definitely a very underrated wide receiver that a lot of people are going to be talking about moving forward.
He's a playmaker, and he's going to be throwing the haymakers today. Nick Bolton, David, this is where, things get a little tricky because I see last time I checked 5'11" and 5/8 inches. Are you willing to invest a first-round pick on a short linebacker?
Yeah, because they tackle guys really hard. So
Well, we talked about Sam Mills, baby, and maybe
yeah, you're talking to a guy who loves Sam Mills. I've been around a lot. I've been around Zach Thomas. I've been around guys that aren't the tallest in stature. So, but if you build the defense with that guy in mind, where you put 300 and something pound tackles in front of them, they're going to consume up linemen and draw the linemen to them, and they can just fill gaps and run and feed in. I mean, even I want to say Ray Lewis was only 6'1". I don't think he made the 6'2" mark. So, that's one of the best of all times right there. And Pat Willis was 6'2". So, you're talking about
5'11".
I know, but you're saying 5'11 and a half. And you asked me to shave off an inch. I'm fine with that at linebacker. Other positions, I might not be fine with it. But at linebacker, I'm definitely fine with it. And again, he's very instinctive, very impressive. You can see him like almost calling out offensive plays before they just by them lining up. So you can see the film study and everything from him. From what I hear, I have friends that are at the school. He's got very good high character, very high work ethic. He's a guy that you can put around. He one player representatives already compared him off the field and in the locker room to a Luke Kuechly. So that's very high praise that way. So, you're talking about a guy who's gotten the off the field seems like figured out, the training, the maintenance, all that figured out. And on the field, he's really impressive. So,
well, listen, I'm on board with it. I just want to throw it out there because, I am curious to know how many starting linebackers under 6 feet tall in the NFL. I'd love to know that statistic. Hey, Samantha, get on that. Tailgate show brought to you by NFLDraftBible.com. Our new morning show here each and every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Of course, the state of football weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern. So now we've got 6 consecutive days of can't stop, won't stop, ugly mugs all up in your living room. So we appreciate you joining us here today. And we are getting ready for another game kicking off at 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Another SEC matchup. Auburn, number 13, hosting Arkansas. David, Arkansas, not looking too good. Auburn, I think, got bamboozled last week. Can they bounce back?
Auburn to me has been a little depressed or a little, underwhelming this year. I thought they would come out and play better. Week 1, they, Nick struggled, and Nick's last week struggled, and he's starting to fall apart. Like on the bench, he was throwing his helmet last week. I don't know where this guy's head's at and where the play calling differential is with Gus Malzahn, because it's not clicking down there. It's not clicking at all. I was really surprised, even though Arkansas, is just a team, like you say, a guy is just a guy. Arkansas is just a team. I was a little surprised that this was a 14-point game. I thought it would be a closer game in the book, but ultimately, when you look at the two teams, Auburn's got the horses and got the team to pull ahead and win this one by 14, if not more. So it's kind of surprising that they're at 14, but they're underperforming a lot, and that offensive line at Auburn is giving up way too much leakage.
Well, I think Arkansas here has to hand it to that running back, Ryan, try to, milk this clock as much as they can and, hope Bo Nix looks like he did last week.
Yeah, and Arkansas has some momentum coming off of their victory over Mississippi State this past weekend, right? 21.
Sorry.
Mississippi State, everybody's favorite quarterback in college football, KJ Costello, went down against the University of Arkansas last week. I'll say – shout out to Arkansas for playing a really tough defensive football game last week, right? Holding Mississippi State to 14 points. Their linebacker, Bumper Poole, with 20 tackles quietly. I feel like nobody's mentioned that. 20 tackles just last week. Really exciting game for him. Like you said, Rakeem Boyd is a good running back. I think that he's a guy that needs to be featured to really slow down the pace of this game. This is about tempo. You really need to slow down what Auburn is trying to do offensively. You need to counteract how fast they want to really kind of uptick how much they want to play offensive football. Auburn, I feel like I'm going to get yelled at on Twitter again for bad-mouthing Bo Nix again, but, man, he's looked rough so far. He's only a sophomore, so, we'll see what kind of turns out here. I think Auburn's going to win this football game. I think Arkansas might keep it close, though, again. I think Auburn gets it rolling a little bit. I love their wide receiver, Seth Williams, the big wide receiver, number 18, really talented football player. He's one of my favorite. I think he's very underrated.
Ryan, top 50 first round?
I think top 50. I'm not ready to say first round yet, but I think he's one of those slept-on wide receivers in the class, potentially. I haven't heard many people talk about him. He's long. He's athletic. He does a lot of different things. He's got some variety to his game. So I think Auburn gets it right a little bit offensively, but I think it's a little bit of a struggle early on. Arkansas continues that defensive momentum from last week, but Auburn eventually pulls out at the end.
Yeah, I think, Seth Williams is easy to get lost in the mix with this talented wide receiver class. I mean, this is real. I think at least half a dozen wideouts are going in the first round, and you might be able to get a guy like Seth Williams in round 2 who in previous years might be a borderline first-round guy. He could still play his way into that mix. But that running back there at Arkansas, I think he's one of the more under-the-radar prospects. I would imagine he gets a Senior Bowl invite, Boyd of Arkansas. Watch out.
In a PA invite.
Hey, NFL PA Bowl, if you're watching, we'd love to have you.
Come on down.
We'd love to have you. Charlie, I'm better than you. Wants to know how long will we have this program for? Well, as long as college football is being played on Saturdays, we will be here, brother. So buckle up, 10 a.m. Easterns, every Saturday. We're just going to keep it going from our weekdays State of Football show, 9 a.m., and straight into the NFL Tailgate show. As you can see, we are pre-gaming it up, baby. Hey, what's in your mouth today? It's the NFL Draft Tailgate show. RIC and the place to be. Rick Saratella, Ryan Roberts, David Turner. Of course, we are down one man, John Murphy, down in Louisiana dealing with the hurricane crisis. Thoughts and prayers are out to everybody in the Gulf Coast region, for real. In fact, we ran a promo yesterday where we said 50% of all sales were going to go to the Red Cross Hurricane Relief. We're going to extend that into the weekend, all weekend long. So subscribe all access. I just decided. Subscribe all access, all sales, the whole weekend. We're going to donate to the Red Cross Hurricane Relief. Man, those people are hurting. Did you see the aerial shot, the drone shot, all those blue tarps on people's roofs from the last hurricane? They haven't recovered yet, and now they're getting whacked again. I mean, seriously. Let's keep our minds distracted, though. We talked about the return of the Mac Brown. One man's trash is another man's treasure. North Carolina, suddenly, don't look now, because they're here to stay. They've got a top recruiting class in the country. They've got a top young signal caller in Sam Howell, who's only a sophomore. They've got talent on both sides of the ball. They've got a number 8 ranking, Ryan, and they're hosting Virginia Tech, my guy, the Khalil Herberts and the Hokies coming in to Chapel Hill.
Yeah, and Mac Brown's doing some great stuff, like you said, with the recruiting that he's doing down there in Chapel Hill. We have Sam Howell. We have Daz Newsome, De'Ami Brown, a wide receiver, Chad Surratt, the linebacker on defense, a ton of talent. But I'm telling you what, right now, we talked about Miami with all those transfers. Look what Virginia Tech's doing with some transfers this offseason. With Khalil Herbert, the running back from Kansas, Braxton Burmeister, their quarterback right now, is a transfer. They've had Justice Reed, who was a defensive end at Youngstown State, is doing some good things for them. They have a wide receiver, Trey Turner, that I like a bunch as well. Brock Hoffman at center. Left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, who's a very talented football player as well. I'm telling you right now, calling the upset here. Virginia Tech takes down North Carolina today. Sam Howell's had a little bit of turnover issues early on in the season. I think maybe throws 1 or 2 more interceptions today. Virginia Tech gets that offense rolling on the ground. They're able to really assert their will. That really nice offensive line. Khalil Herbert has another big day to continue his rise for what is a player that nobody is talking about in draft circles and absolutely should be.
This guy, I saw Herbert last year when he was on Kansas. They went up to Boston College, 30-point underdogs, and Herbert just ran through them, over them, around them. Les Miles, shout out to him, who's got the corona. He was like a pig and you know what. And then Herbert comes out last week, I think 300-plus all-purpose yards, the kick return. I mean, this guy's a stud. I'm sorry. I don't take running backs in the first round. I'll take Khalil Herbert in the second, though. I'm high on this guy. And, talk about transfers, my guy, not my guy anymore because you left the state of New Jersey, but Raheem Blackshear, I don't know if he's redshirting or what. I haven't heard from him. They don't need him. That's a guy to keep an eye on in the future. And let's not forget about Michael Carter, the electrifying running back there for UNC. That guy has got some extreme wiggle. I look for Carter, Newsome to really put points up on the board. But you know what, Ryan? You're the second person. Big Law, our guy Lawrence Johnson from 7 City Shop Talk, he called the upset as well. He said this is a mutter game. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be muddy. And the Hokies, Bronco Mendenhall, man, he is building a really solid program there. You mentioned Darius. I mean, they've got a slew of offensive linemen, underclassmen that are really impressive-looking players. So, David, are you on board with the upset? The Hokies?
No, I'm not. I think, this North Carolina led with senior linebackers are going to come in. Like you said, it's going to be more of a sloppy game. It's going to be a wet game. And the Fox brothers there at North Carolina are going to hold Herbert and box him in. And they're going to be able to contain him and get him upfield. So I think this is going to be something that you guys, when we come tomorrow morning and we're drinking our recovery drinks from today, I'm going to be texting you guys like, ha ha, the Riley Cat figured it out again, and it's over, baby. You know what?
I think UNC
Them Fox brothers are legit.
I think UNC has the ball with a chance to win. Final possession is going to come down to the last possession. And I'll tell you what, the Hokies are going to hold them off. I'm watching Chad Surratt versus Khalil Herbert there as a matchup to keep an eye on. Of course, the former high school quarterback. And I think really a potential first-round pick. And Chad Surratt, of course, his brother Sage Surratt, I think opted out there for Wake Forest this year. But both of those guys are trending up as we get closer to April, in my opinion. All right, keeping it moving. Keeping it grooving. Bryce Hall is a talented running back there at Iowa State. They're ranked number 24 in the nation. Matt Campbell, say what you want. For the most part, this is going to be a prepared football team. And, Texas Tech, talk about transfers. They welcome anyone and everyone. If your program's not playing football this fall, Texas Tech will love to have you. And, they've got that 1-2 combination, Ryan, and Alan Bowman, the quarterback, TJ Vashier, the big, tall, wide receiver. Is this guy really just a good college football player, or could he be a red zone mismatch type at the next level?
I feel like TJ Vasher is the type of wide receivers that keep fooling the NFL, with that size and length, and just are they a good enough athlete to really affect the game other than just in the red zone from time to time. So I'm not buying into TJ Vasher too much. I know Bowman got injured last week, so we got to see what the health is with him. For this game, obviously very highly publicized. Brock Purdy's rough first 2 games, the upset to Louisiana the first game. But Iowa State has quietly come back and as a football team won a couple games in a row here and looked a lot better from an offensive and defensive perspective here. So I'm going to take the Cyclones in this game. I think Texas Tech's dealing with a little bit of injury at the quarterback position. And I think that at the end of the day, Iowa State's defense is going to do enough against a beaten up a little bit Texas Tech offense for the Cyclones and Brock Purdy to take the game today on ABC.
Where do we see Brock Purdy as a pro prospect right now?
So for me, the assumed top 3 going into the year, counting underclassmen, right, are Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and then Trey Lance, the quarterback out of North Dakota State. So I was looking at who's going to be that 4th quarterback. Brock Purdy was kind of my guy in the preseason just because I thought that he did enough from staying on schedule, can do manage chaos when things break down in front of him. It's been rough the first couple weeks. I haven't been able to take a deep dive into the film to see what exactly is the cause of this concern. But I'll say he's not in that conversation for me right now. It's kind of a to be determined on him. But I'll say I was a fan of him going into the season. Obviously, the further evaluation is going to be able to tell just what upside he is. But, for me, I still think he's a day 2 quarterback. I think that he has that upside because I think when things are going well, he can really stay in schedule. For whatever reason, this Iowa State offense this year, offensive line-wise, has not been great. The first game, it was so highly publicized, but they had 7 dropped passes in the first game, including the 1 interception that he threw, hit the guy right in the chest and popped up. So there's some context to assume, to consider for him. I still think that he could be a day 2 quarterback, but he's definitely not trending in the right direction right now.
I think he'll be again another one of these Senior Bowl invites, and I'm looking forward to the measurements. I want to see what he checks in. I think he might be just a hair under 6 feet tall. I want to see what that hand size is. I want to see better play from Brock Purdy and Iowa State number 24.
I'm going to give you a comparison on Vasher, Malcolm Floyd.
That's a good one.
So what I'm saying is Vasher might not be your number one, but he's going to be a potential number two. He's got to put a little weight on, but he's so athletic, and at the size that he is, that frame, you can't coach that frame, and those hand size I think is going to be very big.
That's a good one.
I see him catch the football. He's very big, and as a Raider, I used to watch. I watch the San Diego Chargers all the time with Floyd and was it Vincent?
Vincent Jackson.
Yeah, Vincent Jackson coming to town all the time. And we always were obviously concerned with Gates and LT and Jackson, but Floyd would tear us up a lot because, with all those weapons. So if you take a guy like that and say interject him to the Colts right now, I mean, that Colts offense would just be really dynamic more than it is good right now. So, that's the kind of player I think you got to compare this kid to. I really like I like Texas Tech a lot, but Iowa State is well coached, like you said, well disciplined, very very much a workman's type football team. So it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to watching this one.
Yeah, that one's at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. And shout out to our guy Bill Carroll, one of the original draft nicks, for pointing out the Antonio Gates II is going to make his declaration today. So if you want to feel old, Antonio Gates II is going to announce his commitment later on today. All right, one more here that we're going to go through, David. It's number 2, Alabama, traveling into Mississippi, and the Lane Kiffin boys, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. What do you got for us?
Can you see did you even hear the lack of intelligence in Lane Kiffin this week to poke the bear known as freaking, Nick Saban? I mean, he can't.
I didn't hear it. What did he say?
He's like, Nick Saban couldn't cover me. He couldn't cover me if I ran around. I'm like, the guy's got a hip replacement, and you're over there joking. I'm like, your mental maturity is so noticeable, Lane, and your need for attention and approval is just so glaring. It's like, come on, man, don't poke the bear who's got a better athletic team, more athletic team, and a better coach team coming in. And coming into your home stadium, and you're not, you're getting 23 points at home. Whoa. and you're gonna poke the bear. I'm like, oh my goodness, here we go. But again, I mean, Alabama, they have one of the most talented wide receiver cores, running back cores, offensive line, defense is just flying everywhere, smacking everybody. We like Ole Miss. Don't get me wrong, Ryan and I both like Ole Miss. We like what we see out of them. We see the offense scoring, But again, Lane, you're getting coaching, discipline, all that stuff. You see the different approaches here. And I'll tell you this, with their days together in Alabama, Lane did not make any friends down there with Nick Saban. So Nick's coming in to really lay the smack down. I think he's going to put his foot on the throat, and this one could be a 35-point victory.
Well, honestly, I mean, Saban threw him a lifeline, right? Because if it wasn't for him bringing him down there to Bama, I don't know if Kiffin even gets another head coaching job. So
right, but what Kiffin did when he was on campus didn't pay that favor back. There was things that Lane did that burnt the bridges. So that's what I'm saying. Like, now Saban's got his chance to really put the smack down. You're gonna see the baby arm come out. So, and
I think the stat is now 20-0. Nick Saban is against his coaching tree, his disciples in head-to-head matchups. We know one thing: Kiffin will at least manage to put a few points on the board here. Ryan, can he make it competitive?
Well, David, you can't really blame Kiffin too much. It's the only chance he has at winning anything this weekend, so he has to challenge where he can there, man. So, I mean, Ole Miss, I like Ole Miss's quarterback. I want to put that out there real quick to start. Matt Corral has a live arm. I think he's a guy that in draft circles is going to be started to talk about probably next year's class. So I think he's only a redshirt sophomore, but he's very talented. Ole Miss has a wide receiver named Elijah Moore, slot kid, who's a very explosive football player. There are some pieces offensively to get excited about. They're going to score a fair amount of points. I don't know if it's going to be a lot of points. I would say Alabama, Mac Jones, the quarterback, I'm not ready to say that he's an NFL kid, but he is playing very high-level football right now. Those wide receivers, Jayla Waddle and Devonta Smith and Najee Harris at running back, that offensive line, Alex Leatherwood and all those dudes over there, Deontay Brown, the offensive guard, very talented, Landon Dickerson. There's just too many guys on that Alabama team to contend with today for Ole Miss. I think Lane is doing a good job offensively to turn some things around. We'll see how that really transcends into the whole picture of the team-wise moving forward, the program in general. But I think Alabama, I'm with David. I don't know if I would quite go 35, but 4 touchdowns, I think might be a good spot here. I think Alabama wins big. Ole Miss just doesn't have the guys right now to compete in this one.
Ryan, is Jaylen Waddle officially wide receiver 1 for Alabama, and can he challenge Jamar Chase? We mentioned Terrence Marshall, Jamar Chase. Is Waddle in that category?
So it's very similar to what I felt like about Henry Ruggs last year in the sense of speed always sells in the NFL. If you tell me right now that Jaylen Waddle is the first wide receiver off the board next year, I will not argue with you because I think that very well could happen. Going into the year, I was very heavy on the Jaylen Waddle over Devonta Smith kind of train there a little bit, just because even though Devonta had the more production, he got the higher volume of targets. The things that Jaylen Waddle can do with the ball in his hands are special. I feel like every year we find these deep threats and people try to compare him to Deshaun Jackson, right? Like that's such a easy comp, like, oh, elite deep threat, he's Deshaun Jackson. I think this kid might actually be Deshaun Jackson. A lot of the ways he wins are very similar to Deshaun coming out of the University of Cal. Super flexible, super fast. That explosiveness in short areas is absolutely elite. So if you told me right now Jaylen Waddle is the first wide receiver off the board, I would not argue with you right now.
I saw David Turner grinning. Are you on board?
Yeah. Waddle's stop and start is ridiculous. His ability to change his direction and those feet to stop and then re-go and explode out of there. I mean, that's something I have not probably seen in about 4 or 5 years or maybe even longer. I mean, when I saw it last year, I was watching the receivers and this kid, I even texted the director of college scouting from the Giants. I text Chris. I was like, are you watching this Waddle kid down here at Alabama? And he's like, no, I'm going in next week. I'm like, I don't know what class he is, but you need to know this kid because on the screen right now, he is popping off the screen. And his route running, his stop and start, his ability to be a returner, slot guy, I think this kid can be really special at the next level with what I'm seeing from him. So, again, if you have certain pieces to your offense and then you fall into a draft line where this kid is your nitrous, he could be the first one off the board over some of these other guys that because he might fit your scheme.
How high are we pushing him? How are we pushing him up that board?
I mean, he could be anywhere from 12 to 20 right now. 12.
Okay.
Like top 10 maybe. Top 10 might be a viable thing. That type of speed, that type of game-breaking opportunity, right? Like David said, he fit in the system. Yeah. I thought he was the guy going into the year where he might be a slot only with that lack of size. I don't think that's true anymore. I think this guy can line up anywhere on an offense, and I think that he can affect the game in a variety of ways.
Yeah, his short area quickness, his close quarter quickness off the line, he can beat the press, the jam with it. He can then explode upfield and any kind of man coverage. This guy is going to be on target every time. He'll be open.
Interesting stuff there. Rondell Moore, a very similar stature type of guy that can do some of the similar things. I think we'll have something to say about it too when we get into the draft season. But man, oh man, what a fun show this was. Another hour of power, I should say, just flying by. Of course, we missed our guy John Murphy, but we did have Ryan Roberts, who we just lost there. David Turner, buckle up. Double chin strap Saturday here. Pardon shop for the people.
Hey, if you haven't listened to this week's Mavs Sports Take, please come download it before the games or listen to it while the games are going. We had 4 powerful women from the sports world on. It was a great panel. Ryan, myself, we were really thankful they were able to come on. You can hear our picks. You hear our evaluations of this weekend's games on Mavs Sports Take. But the panel is really where we want to focus your attention because we're all about the business of football and bringing these ladies on, talking about the pandemic, their roles in football. We had a world-class agent. We've had, social media directors, reporters, and a woman who works for the Eagles all on there this weekend to talk about their roles in sports. So if you haven't heard Mavs Sports Take, please come download it today. Give it a listen. It's well worth your time.
on every major podcast supplier. You can go on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you find your podcast, you can find Mav Sports Take. Just want to throw that in there for you, David.
And of course, MaverickSportsConsulting.com. Make sure you check that out. That was an excellent, excellent podcast with all the ladies in the professional football industry. Ryan, good to see you, man. Good to hop on and chop it up with you. It's been too long. I think it's been since like draft week last year since we did a show together. So parting shot for the people here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like one thing besides for, picking these games and having some fun is we were talking a lot about some scouting tidbits. So if you all are interested in learning more about the scouting process from myself and 18-year scouting vet David Turner every Friday night on Friday Night Scout School, 9 Eastern time, sign up today, NFLDraftBible.com. We have an amazing season pass that is such a nice value, or you can buy it a la carte, get the individual segments and seminars if that is what you would rather do. If there's something that really interests you, come give it a shot. I promise you, if you come, you give it a listen, and you hear the stories that David's able to give to you, and we're breaking down some film that you're going to love every second of it. It's going to want you coming back for some more. So come take a look at that. And also next Thursday night, 8:30 Eastern time, we're going to have our HBCU Senior Spotlight, where we have 5 players who are the best on their level entering the 2020 season. I guess it's 2021 for them. Obviously, everything getting pushed to the spring. But come take a look and listen to their stories, their careers, how they are, where they got to right now. We're also going to have Jordan Reed from the Draft Network, who is a quarterback at North Carolina Central, on the show as well as a guest speaker. So really excited. You can sign up there. Just send me an email at ryan@nfldraftbible.com to RSVP for Thursday, 8:30 Eastern time.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Of course, a series of spotlight shows that Ryan has conducted with the FCS Small School Spotlight Show, the DT Spotlight Show. You can find that over at the All Access Football channel on YouTube. Of course, NFLDraftBible.com. We've got the Baldy Breakdown seminars also in rotation, and of course the virtual edition NFL Draft Bible, never done before except for 2021 draft cycle. You can now gain access to the publication as we construct it, brick by brick, block by block. We can't stop. We won't stop. Check it out, NFLDraftBible.com. Go all access and get the free copy of Scout Speak in addition to the hard copy edition, the PDF, the instant access. I'm telling you, if you're a draftnik, a draft fan, you want to know more about these guys, we don't just do the in-depth scouting reports. We give you the medicals. We give you the backgrounds. We give you the latest APT measurables only at the NFLDraftBible.com. It's what we do since 2002. Bring me the names you need to know first. Hey, all my chat room, this is a show for the people. All my chat room peeps, DC, Daniel Cassidy, Robin Backstab, Joey Everett. We got to get you on here, brother. Charlie Beta. No, I'm better. Hey, tell a friend, it's them again. We'll be back here next week, Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Please share it, like it, review it, comment it. And boy, this was a lot of fun. Again, for all of our guests today,